Giving Pittsburgh a better alternative. Giving Pittsburgh a better alternative. Yeah. Extra, reading the issue, raw news.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Pittsburgh Current podcast. I am Pittsburgh Current editor and publisher Charlie Deach. The newest edition of the Pittsburgh Current is out now with our cover story on author Deesha Philyaw and her new book, The Secret Life of Church Ladies. We also have a piece from Caitlin Hunter on media attacks of Black activists, and we have an update on last week's cover story about racism in Pittsburgh neighborhoods. So check that out at pittsburghcurrent.com. You can sign up to have that each and every Tuesday sent to your inbox. Today's episode of the Pittsburgh Current podcast is sponsored by local internet provider Greenlight Wireless. Greenlight Wireless isn't like the big internet providers that you're used to working with. They give you the internet you need and the customer support you want without the commitment and hassle of the other guys. To learn about Greenlight Wireless home internet, visit greenwifi.com. That's green, WIFI.com. The COVID-19 pandemic has forced all of us into changing the way we live our lives. Pittsburgh's arts scene is no different. Next Thursday, August 6th at 7:30 p.m., Point Park University's Pittsburgh Playhouse and the City Theater Company will launch its new initiative, Homegrown Stories, as part of City of Asylum's The Show Must Go Online series, designed to support artists and alumni. In June, the theaters commissioned 5 playwrights to write 10-minute plays for a digital medium in response to our current world. With a company of Point Park alumni and Pittsburgh-based artists, they will now present a one-night-only digital reading of the resulting works, followed by a talk back with the creative team. Joining me to talk about this initiative is Monteze Freeland, the associate producer at City Theater and a Point Park alum, and Drew Martoella, managing director of the Pittsburgh Playhouse. Gentlemen, welcome to the Pittsburgh Current podcast.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So, Monteze, let's start a little bit about you guys, obviously, to City Theater. Robust publishing, or robust productions every year. You guys. So this is obviously, how is the COVID-19 virus and the lockdowns that came after, how has that forced you guys to sort of redevelop and rethink how you do things?
In every way. I mean, I think that every theater company is thinking that. In every way, it has forced us to rethink, refuel, recharge, and to reassess how to move forward. I'm very lucky to work with a company who is persistent and who is, who's not giving up the fight and pushing through so that we can continue to bring, like you said, those robust and raw and quality theater performances that the audience in Pittsburgh loves. So we're not giving up. We're pushing through as much as we can. And I feel like the same is going for Point Park in a way as well.
And I think it's important. I know when I moved back to Pittsburgh, I think in 2000, one of the first pieces of art I saw in the city was I went to City Theater and I saw Shakespeare's R&J, the Romeo and Juliet version of Romeo and Juliet set in an all boys school. It was tremendous, and that's sort of how I've always think of you guys, is doing these cutting edge productions, these productions that are, causing us to think about how we not only watch art, but also consume art. And I think you guys have always done a great job at that. So I'm glad to see you're pushing through this. So let's talk about tell me a little bit about how this project came about. It sounds like there was some Point Park alum magic kind of working on this one.
Yeah, well, I think Drew can probably talk to that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think a couple months ago when we were sort of in the midst of this, and it was clear that this was not going to end quickly, and then the world, continued to turn upside down with the murder of George Floyd, which prompted this incredible sort of social movement. And in the midst of all of this, here we were as arts organizations. I was sort of cognizant of the fact that here we were as arts organizations, and we were across the country, we're just a little stuck, right? We should be in the mix, having conversations about this, inviting conversations about this moment. Well, who better to kind of reflect on this than artists? And we should be telling stories. That's what we, at our foundation, what we're all about, as theaters, as art centers, as places where this happens. And we couldn't, and we weren't. And so I kind of picked up literally, I think I picked up the phone to City Theater and just like, look, I have an idea. What if we were to dedicate some resources to engaging artists, activating them, giving them some work, and ask them to begin to see if they would tell some stories, and we would help curate it and put it all together. And luckily, the city said, "Yeah, absolutely, let's do it." And that's why we're here, here today. And couldn't be more pleased about what we're doing right now and the plays that we've helped create.
When you were thinking about a partner for this, Drew, was City Theater the natural, again, because you're gonna do something that, if it's been done, it hasn't been done a whole lot. And so was City Theater one of the first kind of natural thoughts for you?
Okay, well, yeah, and here, look. So first of all, I'm new to Pittsburgh, so I just moved to Pittsburgh in September. So I'm brand new.
Yeah.
But I had, just because of the world and what I've done for many years, I'm certainly aware of City Theater, and I happen to know James McNeil. He's the managing director of City.
Yeah.
So I kind of came into this with a relationship with James, and I had seen shows at City, so I was aware of them, and I was just like, yeah, this is perfect. They're perfect, and I just hoped they were going to say yes.
Yeah.
And they did.
Monteze, what were the challenges when you get the idea, you hear the idea, what is the process like to figure out, okay, exactly what are we going to do, and then what are the logistics of all the thing?
Sure, it was easy to think of the playwrights to reach out to. I mean, there are so many, of course, in our arsenal to choose from, but the 5 that came to mind were pretty, it's pretty easy to land on them because they're so talented. I think the challenge was whether or not they would say yes, primarily because to write in this time, about this time, is difficult. Look, I tried to write a play and I couldn't get through it because it makes you sit in right now and pay attention to it. And I think sometimes, at least me, I'm trying to find ways in which I can compartmentalize and not think about right now.
Right.
But as an artist, it makes you have to sit down, not only think about it, mull over it, write about it. And I think for all 5 of our playwrights, to do that is just sheer courage and strength. So I'm appreciative that they said yes, because they could have said no, thank you, it's too painful, not doing it. And, we would have had to move on, but they said yes. And then from there, of course, we were in a production meeting yesterday mulling over how do we do a certain moment. And we were like, oh, the virtual world. But the fact of the matter is that if we were in person, it would be another problem we'd have to deal with.
Right. It just adds a whole other production level. Yeah,
plays are not easy. You get to a point where it comes time to put it up and it just feels like this isn't going to work. No one's going to like this. And what are we doing every production? So it makes sense that it's translating into the digital world as well. But it works. We're overcoming the hurdles that performing on Zoom can present.
And let's talk a little bit about the plays. There are 5, and again, it is a who's who of talented Pittsburgh playwrights. Talk a little bit about let's talk a little bit about each. I'll kind of throw it over to you. Let's talk a little bit about each and sort of maybe a little bit about what the play is, but also, why this particular playwright, why, and the topics that they're bringing to the table.
Sure. Now, I can't fully speak as to why everyone wrote what they wrote. But I do know that, our directors have been in conversation, and a lot of these plays come from the personal, and as playwrights do, and so When you think of a play like When Things Get Bad, at least we have each other by Matt Pelfrey, who is a Point Park staff member, more than a staff member. I believe he runs the MFA writing program. And that play is about, it's kind of I don't want to give away any spoilers. Yeah, but it's kind of like, how do you deal with communicating with someone via Zoom who you know, and who you are taking care of, but then also there's that twist because there's that disconnect there. And so in this play, it adds a little bit of a fun twist at the end of trying to connect with your parents and help them through their technology as you're talking to them, and trying to help a parent through a stressful situation as you're going through it yourself. But really, there are a lot of scams out here that are happening. I think that this play taps on that a little bit. So it hits that scamming part. Then you have I Want to Say by Ngozi Anyanwu, which has two people, no names, no genders attached to them. And they're two people who are just having a conversation, who haven't seen one another in a long time. And in the midst of this upheaval, as things sort of were at their most sparkling, boiling point, I would say, is when these two decide to reconnect and have a conversation that is, I would say simple, but not trite. And it's very concise, but it packs a punch. So we have wonderful actors, and I'll talk about them later, who are bringing these stories to life. And then you have another play that's set right here in Pittsburgh called Helicopters by Tammy Ryan, which deals with the Black Lives Matter protests that have happened in the streets and what happens when that protest comes home into the household of a white family in Pittsburgh whose daughter has been out at the protest, possibly bringing home COVID, possibly bringing home new ideas to parents who she feels as though are not woke. And they're like, no, we've been woke. Times are just different. And then you have two plays that kind of deal with the future. You have In the Macro by Marcus Stevens, which kind of deals with who's really running this game here, who's controlling what's happening, and do we actually have control over what we're going through? And maybe we do. Maybe if we really looked at our power, we could band together and make change. So In the Macro, it's about who's really calling the shots here and the idea of second chances. And then you have Under by Mark Clayton Suthers, the great Mark Clayton Suthers.
Legendary.
Yeah, of course, you can't have a playwriting contest in Pittsburgh without, without him. So you have Under, which is about the future regarding Black people and reparations. The hoops that it would take to get it, how close we could be to actually receiving it, and what would it mean once we received it for those who don't receive it, and who has the power of what Black life and Black future will be, who holds that power in the future. So these are 5 plays that all pack a wonderful punch. They're not too dramatic where you feel as though, you can't sit through them, but they do have, that realism to it that we're all going through right now, which feels insane.
And I think also what I was wondering, and I think I asked the question very, very poorly. When you reached out to these playwrights, were they given any sort of direction, or were they just sort of given the general idea and they were put upon themselves to figure out what to write?
Drew, you were there.
Yeah, Dave. Yeah, I was there. Yeah, no, I mean, we gave them very little direction.
Yeah.
We said I think we said that we wanted about 10 minutes, whatever that meant to them. And I think that we may have asked them to reflect on the moment that we're in. And and I think we said 3 characters. I think we may have given them a limitation on the number of performers. So the challenge was contained to time, the number of characters that they could write for, and we just again hoped that they would respond to this moment, and that it would reflect also, because it's homegrown stories, we sort of naturally thought this would happen on our backyard, our place, our home, and it could be our larger home or right here in Pittsburgh, but we invited them to do that as well. So I think Charlie too, I think what's really exciting about this is the sort of the nature of the kind of the partnership between, City and Point Park
Mm-hmm.
University. But I think the larger story here is that the necessity of these kind of partnerships as arts organizations move forward, in this crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, what we're this also came from an impulse to think about ways that we could partner as arts organizations together to collectively broaden. How can we meet together on a project and possibly use this moment and technology to broaden, deepen relationships with our patrons, and the folks that we engage with and want to connect with. And I think that's really the larger challenge for this, for this,
Mm-hmm.
for this moment, because I think things are maybe going to get more difficult before they get easier. Arts organizations, performing arts organizations, theaters.
Right.
Our model is about gathering people in a common space, and that's really hard to do right now. And I think that the more that there are partnerships like what City and Point Park University are doing right now, can only be a good thing, because what we're going to have to do is to explore what's possible, and how are we going to keep doing what we're going to do. And I think the partnerships like this are really kind of strengthen our ability to deliver our mission. So
You're listening to the Pittsburgh Current Podcast. We are speaking to Monteze Freeland of the City Theater, and we're talking to Drew Martoella, the managing director of the Pittsburgh Playhouse, and their partnership and in bringing 5 one-act plays online next Thursday. It's called Homegrown Stories, and it's really looking, it's sounding and looking like it's going to be a great program. We do want to say also, want to thank our sponsor today, Greenlight Wireless. Greenlight Wireless isn't like the big internet providers. They give you internet you need and the customer support you want without the commitment and hassle of the other guys. You can reach out for more information, Greenlight Wireless at greenwifi.com. So as with a lot of things that we're dealing with in this pandemic, you sort of realize that you're forced to do things differently. But you also then realize, I think in some cases, I know we've had this sort of, light bulb go off, that regardless of the situation, we probably don't have to go back to the way we did X before. So we're developing sort of a new way of moving forward. And I think that, do you guys get the feeling that some portion of maybe the partnership, but also the presentation of the arts, do you think that some level of this is going to survive and be part of the art scene beyond the pandemic?
As far as bringing digital performances to
Yeah,
people,
digital and again the way and also the partnerships, because we're all taking a hit financially in this time, obviously, and there still has to be a way to continue to do what we do. And so it would seem to me that maybe something that wasn't obvious before now becomes, oh, why didn't we do this long ago, I guess.
Oh, Charlie, yes. Yeah, I mean, I'm not interested in going back to what was normal. What was normal was not equitable, to be very honest.
Right.
And I do think that if we in Pittsburgh, as a communal arts organizations, come together and share our resources, then we could be so powerful as one. And I do think that this pandemic and everything that's happening right now really is forcing people to say, okay, who are my neighbors? Who can I lean on? What resources can we share so that we can continue to serve the community? Because that's what it's ultimately about. Yes, we're serving our egos, as fragile as they are.
That's what it's all about,
big
right?
as they are, right? But we are also in service to the community. And right now, the community is hurting so very badly.
Right.
And we have so many smaller companies that unfortunately will close their doors. And just because they close their doors doesn't mean that they're over or that they have to stop, because we may be able to assist them. Other companies may be able to help in the future. So we don't know what that fully looks like now. But like this partnership and many other ones that are in the works, we are looking to pool our resources together and work as one Pittsburgh theater community. I think it's time. It's high time that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's exactly right, Montez. And I think that just sort of, with every in a crisis, there's opportunity. And I think the opportunity we found here is to be collaborative. And then the collaboration is by nature difficult. It's hard, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't be done. As a matter of fact, that's a good thing, because through this practice of collaboration, we change our practice. We don't necessarily intrinsically change our mission or what we're all here for, but when we change our practice and working together at an organizational level, we learn things about each other. We exchange values. And through that process, I absolutely endorse what Montez says, that the nature and the way that we are making work has not been equitable. That has to change. And I actually am hopeful that through this kind of this type of collaborative practice, the organizational change that can happen is that one of it is that we become more equitable out of as a result. And that's really, I think, the promise of this kind of collaborative act. You may have been asking about, which I think is, I think could be an amazing byproduct of, what we're going through at the moment with this pandemic. But you may have been also talking about technology. I think that, again, another opportunity is to sort of, as we experiment and learn, as theaters, in some ways, this kind of work is anathema to theaters, right? Again, as I said, we're about bringing folks in a common space and a common time to share a performance with an audience. That's what we're sort of designed to do. What technology is asking us to do here is to, again, in a sense, change our practice. So this might begin a collaboration, in a sense, with technology. I don't think we're going to lose this notion to want to come back together and to have and perform in a theater again. But I do wonder and expect that we will learn something from this foray into Zoom and this virtual world. And who knows how this will inform how we do what we do in the future. And I think it will. I really do. I think it will.
Montez, I'm not sure how much, if you've seen maybe portions of some of the works and how they're kind of being worked out. What are you noticing in terms of the performance of these pieces? How is that different? How is the you're not on a stage, you're not trying to project to the last row. You're talking into a microphone. What's that sort of change been like? What have been the differences there?
Sure, I have been sneaking into the rehearsals on Zoom this week, and so it's been refreshing to see old friends and new friends. Everyone is refreshed. Let me tell you that. Yeah. They are ready and raring to go and at the top of their game. So it's not surprising. It's just amazing to see. Acting in this medium is very different because we are missing that big chunk of the piece that finishes it, which is the audience. Right. There's really no way to connect, and you essentially are talking into a camera on a device. And while that is problematic at times, it's not impossible, because actors, I think, do this most of the time at home anyway. Look, I have the best audience here, these four walls, and they get a show. So I think that's how we do. So, we don't always need an audience to perform, but we do know that there's an audience there, and you kind of, in a weird way, feel that. You kind of feel the energy amongst your partners, but it's a different style. Those who have film experience probably are, possibly prospering during this. Those like me who have more theater experience, I'm learning to, maybe not talk so loud and not talk so fast, and not have, as you said, project to the last row. Yeah. But the talent is evident, as you will see next Thursday.
Is it different? Because also, you're now, this is what you're using. You're using this area here now. What is that like? Because I have to think. You have to. We've all seen plays where it's a full body exercise for these actors. Mm-hmm. So what is it like now to have to sort of almost channel everything to this screen?
Yeah, it's intense. You have to channel it to the screen. You also have to, in a way, like you said, put everything up here. Whatever you do down here, it won't matter. Yeah. So it is about being very deliberate with your actions, with your tone, with how you're speaking to your scene partner. Those come into, that comes into play. There are, moments when you want to look in someone's eye and say something, you can't.
Right,
but
yeah.
but you can pretend, and you
Yeah.
can. But it's a challenge, but it's certainly not impossible.
Right.
It's like
Yeah, it's
pants are
almost.
always optional, Charlie. Pants are
What's
always
that?
optional. Pants are always optional.
Oh yeah, that's actually the poll you should take. Who's
And
performing with
actually,
cancer?
Montez, there that could be there's a packaging for a whole Zoom series right there. Pants optional.
Well, I'm
That'd
doing
be a great
shorts.
hook in
It's
one of
too
these
high for
plays.
pants.
Gets up to leave without pants on. That would be
Right. But you gotta be careful. These obviously cameras and laptops fall over, exposing everything. So you got
Right.
two taps on that screen and it's done.
Playing without a net.
Right. Exactly.
What are some of the performances you've seen? As you said, you've been sneaking into some of the rehearsals. You don't have to go through every, but who are some of the actors that you see so far that seem to take into this really well?
I've seen all of them. As far as like in this lineup of series, I'll go down the list. We have Hazel Leroy, who's a Point Park professor, who's in the ensemble. We have an ensemble of 9 actors, and so some of these actors are in 2 plays, some are in 1. So joining Hazel, we have Quinn Patrick Shannon, Caroline Napoleon, Richard McBride. We also have Melissa Clark, Hope Anthony. I'm gonna check my list and see who else I'm missing here. Of course, Dana Michelle Griffith and Daniel Krell and Zoe Myers. I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody on the list. I don't think I did, but
we had Dana on a podcast last year. She's so talented. She's so good. She's amazing.
Yeah, I mean they've been, it's like some of them have known each other for years, so it's it's just very easy. So Hazel taught all of us, and so it's like that sort of connection that's there. And of course we have our wonderful directors who Rachel Stevens, Racine Singletary, and Kyle Hayden, who are bringing it together and offering some amazing creative suggestions for the actors to play through. I mean, it's really innovative when I sit down and watch it, and the ideas are great, and we're just here trying to make sure that we can support them, because of course Zoom, as wonderful as it is, you can only do but so much, but we want to make sure that we are supporting the directors and playwrights' vision and our actors' choices.
We do want to say that this is a free show. They need you to go online and register. You can get more information at alphabetcity.org/show, pittsburghplayhouse.com, and citytheatercompany.org. You can check those out. Is there a limit on how many folks can get in on this, or is it sort of unlimited? You just kind of need to know what the numbers are going in.
Oh,
I don't
come
think
on
there's a
in.
limitation. Yeah, come on in. Everybody,
Come on in.
One and all, everybody.
Yeah, it's really
Let's
really
push the
been.
limit. If there's a limit, let's find it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Let's break the internet with arts instead of cat videos, right? Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time today. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm absolutely looking forward to next week. And it really is. I've seen magic shows online. I'm going to see productions, and it's it really is. It really helps people who are not able to get out, who are used to going out and experiencing the arts. It gives them a chance to bring some of that into their home and keep them from at least going a little crazier than they already are. So.
For sure. Could I say one more thing, Charles?
Please, Monteze.
I certainly do not want to leave out the amazing production team that is behind this. Of course, Point Park's team and City Theater, with Claire Drobot, who is so instrumental in this, and Kim Martin and Steve Breeze. I also want to certainly point out that we have an amazing production team of Howard Patterson, who's doing sound, and Britton Mock, who's providing scenic elements. We're going to play around with some virtual magic and backgrounds. Wow. And then we also have James Ogden, who's the production manager, who is putting it all together in the wild way that it requires. So we have an amazing team of Point Park connected people and alum and current students. And it's just a wonderful homegrown situation,
That's right. I need to echo that as well, Charlie. I mean, just the what Montez has just described is, not only collaborative, but it's innovative. And a shout out to, really, I need to honor my home institution, which is Point Park University and their commitment to innovation and to making this kind of work. And that's why so many of the folks have Point Park University connections, either as alumni or staff. And it's a rich environment for creativity and producing at Point Park. So,
Drew, thank you so much for
thank
joining.
you.
Monteze, thank you not only for joining me today, but thank you for all the work you do across the city. I mean, it's trying to imagine the arts going forward without you as a crucial role in it. Just, I don't want to think about it. I so appreciate everything that you've done for the arts scene here in Pittsburgh and for City Theater. So thank you guys so much. And next Thursday, 7:30, you need to go on and register. citytheatercompany.org, pittsburghplayhouse.com, and alphabetcity.org/show. This has been the Pittsburgh Current Podcast. I want to thank our guests, and I also want to thank our sponsor, Greenlight Wireless. It's not like the big internet providers that you're used to working with. They give you the internet you need and the customer support you want without the commitment and hassle of the other guys. To learn more about Greenlight Wireless Home Internet, visit greenwifi.com. We're looking forward to the new issue out on Tuesday to your email boxes. Looking forward to next Thursday. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.